Blank, Branham, Killer Bees, ESPN 97.5. Astros, we expect to be in the playoffs here pretty soon, lead the division, kind of messing around a little bit, but we expect them to be in the American League Division Series yet again. And when you have those conversations, you have to talk about the pitching rotation. Top two, probably decided. After that, anybody's guess.
It really is, Jeremy. And the fact of the matter is, I think you and I have basically thought that J.P. France has been really deserving of that number 3 spot. But when you look at it, Dusty's going to Dusty. And we talk about Pawpaw's belly, and we talk about the fact that he has loyalty and he believes in resumes versus what have you done for me lately in the Janet Jackson philosophy. And I think that there's going to be a case made by Dusty alone that Christian Javier is a guy that he's going to consider for his number 3 starter in the playoffs, whether anyone likes it or not.
You agree. I agree. I think most of the listeners that we have on a daily basis agree. J.P. France is the number 3. Only one guy's opinion matters. That's Dusty Baker. Dusty plays favorites, and I think he looks back at what Javier did last postseason versus what he's done regular season this year.
Yeah, no question. I mean, Dusty's biggest memories of Javier got him his biggest accomplishment in managing, and that's a World Series ring. And he's not going to forget that. And he knows how devastatingly effective he was a year ago. But the question becomes, can you bridge the gap between last year and this year and get back that loving feeling that you had last year in the playoffs? Because if you can't, you really can't risk throwing him out there for the sake of loyalty when you know you have a better pitcher in your back pocket that probably deserves to be your number 3.
If we're making the call, it's Framber, JV in some order. We're making the call. JP France is the 3. We're making the call. Who's the number 4?
Well, the number 4 is a very interesting conversation because both guys are wild cards. Hunter Brown has not been consistent at all, and he really hasn't had enough experience on the big stage, bright lights, everything on the line. And we know Javier has. You and I have talked about this over and over again. There's 2 versions of Javier. When he's good, he can still be really good. It's not about like his arm having issues, fastball down. But when he's bad, pitch count goes up, and you can't rely on him more than a couple innings.
It's interesting because both of those guys can be dominant at times. Well, we haven't seen it in a while, but we've seen Hunter Brown be dominant. We've seen Christian Javier be dominant. Now, mostly first half of the year. Last year, I think, pitched the most underrated game in World Series history. So you can understand Dusty going to one of those guys. You can understand going to both of those guys because they have dominance in their bag. We just haven't seen it lately. What do you think Dusty does with the 4 starter? If we think that it's Javier as the number 3 guy, we would go J.P. France. Who do you think he prioritizes from the rookies between J.P. and Hunter Brown?
Well, regardless of where his loyalties lie or what the future may hold, J.P. France has earned the right to be the number 4 at the very worst. You and I both think he should be 3. If he's not 3, he has to be 4 because Hunter Brown, starters to relief pitchers is a very, very unique situation of how you get ready, how you get loose, when you're warm, when you're ready to come in. Hunter Brown's already been in the bullpen. He knows how to do that, and he was effective when he did it. He can do it again, just like an Urquidy can do that. And you can kind of match these guys up in games or use them as long relievers, and both those guys can come in and help. But I think there's no question in my mind, if France isn't your 3, he's got to be your 4.
Yeah, it's interesting with the starters going to the rotation because no one really jumps anybody in the bullpen in terms of the pecking order. Like what you have down there, Ryan Presley, you have Brian Abreu, you have Hector Neris, Rafael Montero, a little shaky last time out, you have Kendall Graveman. When you start having the conversation of what does Hunter Brown look like in the bullpen, what does Christian Javier look like in the bullpen, they're really your number 6, number 7 guys in the bullpen anyway. So it's not really like they're helping the bullpen. You're kind of just hiding them and not having to use them in leverage situations.
Well, the way they help the bullpen is that they're ready to kind of suck up some innings or come in earlier in a game because like you said, you're back at the bullpen leverage guys. But in the playoffs, you and I both know Dusty's going to have a quick hook, regardless of how much he loves the guys he's putting out there. Because one run gone the wrong way can be the difference in winning a game or winning a series. So I think those guys, yes, they're down around the pecking order in terms of where they'd be used in a normal bullpen situation. In the playoffs, everything's on the table. Those guys have to be ready to go at any time.
Fromber, JV, we're going JP France. Did you say Hunter Brown or Javier?
Javier.
I'm on the Javier side too because I think they're a tie right now, but the fact that Javier's done it in the past, look, again, neither one's pitching well. They're both down in the doghouse for me. Right. But because Javier has the history, Hunter Brown really doesn't, I have to give the lean to Javier.
And both guys have come out of the bullpen and been effective before, but if you're going to take one versus the other with the experience, I go Javier for that position.
How about this idea? I don't really care who starts in this situation, Javier or Brown. They get 2 times through the order no matter what. If it's 2 times to the order in 3 innings, they're out in the 3rd inning. If it's 2 times to the order through 5 innings, they pitch 5 innings. Javier, Hunter Brown, kind of a piggyback, not one batter more than 2 trips through the lineup.
Yeah, I think that's something that they have to consider because they have enough quality depth in starting pitching to be able to do what a lot of teams can't do because they have guys that can suck up innings and have been starters. But I think that, again, because it's the playoffs, that has to be on the table and has to be thought really, they have to consider that a great deal.
Starting to feel like 2019 a little bit, right?
A little bit.
Luis Garcia,
5 innings or less.
Yeah, it's not a great feeling with that Astros starting rotation. Blank Branham, Killer Bees, 3 to 6 on ESPN 97.5, and make sure you check out the YouTube channel. Pound that subscribe. I've always wanted to say that.